What's going on, everybody? Good morning. It's like 9 o'clock here on a Saturday. I know, been up since like 6:30. God, on a Saturday, it's crazy. But today was payday on YouTube, so I thought I would go to, we all know where I'm going. We know where I'm going. But anyway, I thought I'd go there, and I originally wasn't going to drive the truck. But as you can probably tell from the title, I think, if memory serves me correctly, that this week will be 3 years that I've owned this Tundra. Now I'm going for a record here. I've never owned a vehicle. I thought about this morning. I think it's over 3.5 years. I believe that my F-150 EcoBoost I owned 3.5 years, I think, or somewhere around that. So midway, 6 more months, I will have owned this truck. As long as that, 7 months, I've owned this truck longer than anything that I have ever owned. And then I thought, why is that? Why have I owned this truck this long and still own it? And I'm going to give you an update on the truck, the mileage and stuff like that. But I thought I'd discuss this first because this is the thing that surprises me the most about this truck. The reason that I've owned this for 3 years and never got rid of it, other than the channel, obviously, the truck is the staple of the channel, so that's a big reason. But I've owned this truck this long, and I've never gotten tired of it. And I've owned like 44 vehicles now, counting the Mercedes. We own that, so 44 vehicles. I think that's what that made. Throughout my 42-year life. And the reason I got rid of all the other vehicles, or traded them, or sold them, or whatever it was I got tired of them. I mean, I traded 9 times in 1 year when I was like 21 or 22 years old. It was crazy. But I just get tired of those vehicles, and I just didn't want them anymore. I wanted something else. I'd see something else I liked better, and I would just automatically just go get it. I didn't care what it took. I didn't care what it costed. I just wanted it. I wanted it then, went and got it. But with this truck, I've not gotten tired of it. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One is, it is probably one of the nicest vehicles I've ever owned. From the leather interior, the really soft leather interior, to the features it has, and it's just one of the nicest vehicles. And it is definitely one of the only vehicles that I have gotten close to finishing the project on. I mean, this thing is really close to where I would love it to be. I talked about in another video that I'm going to put like a King actual suspension lift on it instead of the block and spacer after I sell my Jeep and stuff like that. So the truck is getting really close to being where I would like it to be. A lot of people want me to put a supercharger on it. And I have to say, if I ever have like a really good few months on YouTube, maybe next year when I'm back, I'm back to work now, but I could have probably done that this year if I would have been working and not off for the pandemic. Because I made enough money off YouTube this year that I could have done it. But being out of work, I had to use that money to live off of. If I have another good year next year, like I did this year, I could probably afford to supercharge this truck. And that may be an option. Not going to say I'm going to, but it may be an option. But the truck is really close to being exactly how I want it. Now, there is a mod that I regret. And I'm going to do a video on that, so stay tuned for that. If you want to see a video on the mod that I really, and this really kind of gripes me every day. I'm not going to tell you what it is right here, but that video will be coming up. I'm going to shoot that maybe later on today or tomorrow. But there is a mod that I did that I regret it. I regret something about it. But for the most part, this truck is almost done. And I love that. I've never had a vehicle that I was satisfied with and that I got completed. And there's something about having that completed that gives me just a good feeling. It doesn't make me want to get rid of the truck, even though I've got a lot of stuff done to it and it's almost exactly where I want it. I want to keep it now that it is like that, because I put so much work into it and I didn't allow a lot of other people to work on it. I did most of it myself, and just looking at this truck fills me with a lot of pride knowing I did that. Two is, here's my second reason I think that I might be satisfied with this truck and have no intentions of ever getting rid of, to tell you the truth about it. I guess this would be three if you count the channel part of it. But I have other vehicles now. And if I start, yearning to have something else, I trade one of those, or I sell one of those, and it gives me something new back into my life to where I get that new feeling again. And I think that's part of it as well. I know that doesn't have to do with the truck, but I think that kind of is one thing that satisfies my urging to want something different, is I can actually get something different. And I've talked about this before. It's the reliability. When I get into this truck, I know it's going to make it where I want to go. I've never had an issue with it, never had a recall on it. I really believe the 14 to 17 model year Tundras are some of the best Tundras ever made. I know the early ones, some of them's hit 1 million miles, and those may be a little more reliable. But as far as this body style goes, I think 14 to 17 are the most reliable ones made. And I trust this truck 100% every time I get in it. And that just gives me a peace of mind and really makes me satisfied with owning this truck, and doesn't leave me with any thoughts in the back of my head thinking, hey, I'd like to have that Chevy over there. I've never looked at a Chevy and thought I'd like to have that Chevy over there. Just using that in context. But that is another reason. And I have no intentions of getting rid of this truck. And I really thought about that. Like I said this morning when I woke up and I thought about doing this video, I was like, why have I owned that truck this long and have never once, not one time, have I ever thought about having to trade this truck, or have had a thought about trading this truck? And I really believe those 3 or 4 reasons is why that is. And if you ever own one of these, if you're new to the channel or you don't own a Tundra, until you own one, see, I get a lot of people that leave comments about how trucks are this, that, and other, and I should get rid of this truck. And then I ask them, have you ever owned a Tundra? Have you ever driven one? 95% of them people usually say, no, I've never owned one. I've never driven one. Well, if you've never owned one and you've never driven one, how can you tell me that I should buy another F-150 when I have owned 2 F-150s and currently own a Tundra? Obviously, I'm a little more experienced in that than you are. So if somebody should be giving advice, maybe it's me. I'm not saying you should take my advice, but at least I'm educated in what I'm talking about in all the categories. And my dad owns a Chevy. I've drove the wheels off that thing as well. So I'm pretty diverse in my truck. So, I'm from somebody that's owned a lot of vehicles. This is the only thing I've ever owned that I've been completely satisfied with. And not one time in the 3 years I've owned it has ever said, I'd like to have something else. Never. This is it. And the truck only has 41,958 miles on it. By the time I get home, we'll have hit 42,000 miles. I think this is about a 50-some mile trip one way. So by the time I get home, I'll have hit 42,000 miles. The thing ain't even broken in yet. It's a 16. And it's only got 42,000 miles on it. So, I don't drive it a ton. I've said that before. I drive the Civic most of the time. But overall, how's the reliability been? I've had a couple of issues. One is, and I still have this issue, it happened the other day, it's very minor, but I have a parking sensor in the right front. And when it rains really, really hard, I don't know if water gets inside that sensor. I've had a lot of other people tell me that they've had this issue as well. But there gets water inside that sensor or something, and that sensor starts beeping like you're fixing to run over something. First time it happened, it freaked me out. I thought I was fixing to hit everything. I was like, what? I'm all over top of something. I got out and looked, there wasn't anything there. So I got back in the vehicle, wiped it off, got back in the vehicle. It took it a little while to stop. I'm thinking water might have got inside it. Not a huge deal. It is a little bit of annoyance. It's only happened like 3 times, but that's a minor thing. The other issue I had was the headlights. I'm sure we've all seen that video where my headlights flickered and they would go off. That's a pretty big issue, safety issue. They had to change this stalk, the headlight stalk. Problem solved. Never had another problem since that. We are good to go. No issues at all. That was like $160 part or like a $200 part, that stalk with the headlight switch. Very, very cheap fix, and I've never had a recall. So overall, completely satisfied with this truck for 3 years. Unprecedented. Even the EcoBoost I had for 3.5 years, I was not satisfied with that truck because it's in the shop all the time, for quite a bit. So as soon as it happened the first time, I was like, no, that's an issue. And I immediately wanted to get rid of that truck. It just took me a year and a half longer than that to get rid of it, or however long it was the first time it happened until I actually traded for this. I wanted to get rid of it immediately after that. Never once has that entered my mind with this truck. Completely satisfied for 3 years. From someone that's owned 44 vehicles and traded 9 times in 1 year, for me to say I'm completely satisfied with this, and it's not because I've gotten older, it's because other cars I've traded like crazy, is unprecedented. It really is, because this has never happened before. If you've never owned a Tundra or never driven a Tundra, go do it. Now, I've always said they need to be lifted because they look little, look low to the ground stock. But go drive one. Just go drive it. I love it. I love it. I'll continue to love it. No intentions of getting rid of this truck. I'll probably drive this till the wheels fall off. That's my 3-year update. That is what amazes me, that I've never gotten tired of this. It doesn't look like I'm going to anytime soon. Appreciate y'all watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time.